יום שישי, השעון כבר מראה צהריים, והשמש צועקת לקום, מתארגן, מתלבש מצחצח שיניים, לוקח תיק קטן, אני כמעט מוכן, היום הולכים לים. ברדיו כולתום נזכר שלא אכלתי כלום, אני חונה שנייה מגיע. בים שישי בצהריים, כל שבוע זה רק בירות מכות ושמיים, כולם זרוקים כאן על החול, ואת עוברת כמו בשיר, עם בגד ים זעיר, אולי הכי יפה בעיר. הראש קצת מסתובב, הלב מרגיש רעב, בירות שמש זה שילוב כואב. יום שישי, השעון כבר מראה בין 40, והשמש צוללת לאט, מתקפל ושוטף את החול ברגליים, ואת ממש ממול, מנסה להיות קצת קול, ואת הלב רק להרגיע. מתקרבת בחיוך, לחוץ מרגיש חשוף, סליחה לאן אתה מגיע. בים שישי בצהריים, כל שבוע זה רק בירות מכות ושמיים, כולם זרוקים כאן על החול, ואת עוברת כמו בשיר, עם בגד ים זעיר, אולי הכי יפה בעיר. הראש קצת מסתובב, הלב מרגיש רעב, בירות שמש זה שילוב כואב. ים שישי בצהריים, כל שבוע זה רק בירות מכות ושמיים, כולם זרוקים שם בים. שישי בצהריים, כל שבוע זה רק בירות מכות ושמיים, כולם זרוקים כאן על החול, ואת עוברת כמו בשיר, עם בגד ים זעיר, אולי הכי יפה בעיר. הראש קצת מסתובב, הלב מרגיש רעב, בירות שמש זה שילוב כואב. ושנינו במכונית, אני ביישן את חייכנית, וזה בדיוק מה שאת אוהבת.
אושר מתקרב, הצלחת להתגנב, אור שלא עוזב, הוא מתגלה בחושך, בכל קצוות תבל, מי שהוא מסתכל, אומר תודה לאל, על אהבת אמת, איך שאת רוקדת, גם הלב שלי רוקד איתנו. מים רבים לא יכבו את האש שלנו, לא. ואת יחפה, אדמה רועדת, איך אחרי כל השנים הרגשתי שייך, בת מהמדבר כמו סופה נודדת, כשחיפשתי את עצמי מצאתי אותה. רוצה להתמכר לטוב שמתגבר, אם הלב אומר בטח שהוא יודע, תכף נתעורר לניגון אחר, לא צריך יותר, יש עוד מסע שלם. איך שאת רוקדת גם הכוכבים רוקדים איתנו. מים רבים לא יכבו את האש שלנו.
בואי נרוץ רחוק, תני לי רק כמה דקות להיזכר במקומות שאז היינו ילדים. לא פחדנו סתם לחיות, בלי המינוס הצרות, בלי לתלות את התקוות, כמו כביסה על חבלים, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף, כמו איזה שני משוגעים. רחוק ברגליים יחפות מזיכרונות ואכזבות שאז רצינו לשחרר. כמעט ויתרנו על עצמנו, נברח רחוק מהשגרה, כמו אז שהסתפקנו באושר הפשוט, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף, כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף, כמו איזה שני משוגעים. כמו איזה שני משוגעים בחוף. שמרנו רגעים בלב, שתינו את הנוף, ואת היית יפה כמו פרח שאסור היה לקטוף. רציתי רק לקטוף אותך, רציתי לקטוף, כמו איזה שני משוגעים.
חיכית לי ואני תמיד חיכיתי לך, והנה היום הזה הגיע. עכשיו מבטיח שאף פעם לא תהי לבד, ואם פתאום תעלמי אחכה כל הלילה ואלחש בתפילה שאליי תחזרי. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי שאני שלך, ובבוקר תראי נשאר ביחד, הולכים את הדרך הזו לתמיד יד ביד. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי שאני שלך, ובבוקר תראי נשאר ביחד, הולכים את הדרך הזו לתמיד יד ביד. עכשיו הגיע הרגע, הרי חיכית לי ואני תמיד חיכיתי לך, והנה היום הזה הגיע. עכשיו מבטיח שאף פעם לא תהי לבד, ואם פתאום תעלמי אחכה כל הלילה ואלחש בתפילה שאליי תחזרי. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי שאני שלך, ובבוקר תראי נשאר ביחד, הולכים את הדרך הזו לתמיד יד ביד. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי שאני שלך, ובבוקר תראי נשאר ביחד, הולכים את הדרך הזו לתמיד יד ביד. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי שאני שלך, ובבוקר תראי נשאר ביחד, הולכים את הדרך הזו לתמיד יד ביד. ואם תבואי אליי נשאר כל הלילה ואלחש לך מילים שתדעי.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your virtual seats. This evening's Jewish National Fund USA Tree of Life virtual gala honoring Robbie and Scott Schreiber will commence in 2 minutes.
יום שישי, השעון כבר מראה צהריים, והשמש צועקת לקום, מתארגן, מתלבש מצחצח שיניים, לוקח תיק קטן, אני כמעט מוכן, היום הולכים לים. ברדיו קולטום נזכר שלא אכלתי כלום, אני חונה שנייה מגיע. בים שישי בצהריים, כל שבוע זה רק בירות מכות ושמיים, כולם זרוקים כאן על החול ואת עוברת כמו בשיר, עם בגד ים זעיר, אולי הכי יפה בעיר. הראש קצת מסתובב, הלב מרגיש רעב, בירות שמש זה שילוב כואב.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jewish National Fund USA's Tree of Life virtual gala honoring Robbie and Scott Schreiber. Please welcome this evening's co-chairs, Bruce Weininger and Jewish National Fund USA's Chicago Board President, Jill Weininger.
Well, Chicago, you've knocked it out of the park with the success of this event. How awesome is it to see such a great turnout tonight to celebrate our Tree of Life honorees, Scott and Robbie Schreiber, JNF USA, and Israel. It's so wonderful to be surrounded, albeit virtually, by so many friends and supporters of Israel and Scott and Robbie too. As president of the board of directors of JNF USA in Chicago, I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Many people don't realize the Jewish National Fund USA is run by lay leaders and volunteers, and every philanthropic project that we choose to invest in Israel is chosen, selected, and guided by those volunteers. With that in mind, Bruce and I are delighted this evening to join Gail and Andrew Brown as the co-chairs for tonight's Tree of Life Gala. Thank you to our sponsors, our ambassadors, and honorary chairs for helping make this evening such a spectacular success. Tonight, we're honoring Scott and Robbie Schreiber, and you'll hear from many of us about why we so passionately champion JNF USA's mission to build a prosperous and sustainable Israel for the future of her people.
We've had the pleasure of getting to know Robbie and Scott initially through their leadership in JNF. But each year that respect has strengthened as we learn more about their work across multiple charitable projects, as well as their pro-Israel advocacy. That respect has turned into friendship as Jill, Robbie, Scott, and I have eaten our way through Chicago the last couple of years, including some chilly outdoor dinners during COVID. We look forward to dining with them in Israel in much warmer weather this fall in October at the JNF National Conference. Please now join us as we sing Hatikva with the children from the Louder Centers from all over the world, and then watch a brief video about the mission of JNF USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us for the singing of Israel's national anthem, Hatikva.
When we are doubted, we excel. When people say it can't be done, we do the impossible. When we are surrounded by hatred, we choose love. It began as a dream that one day the Jewish people will again have a home. That vision became a reality. This is Israel. This is Zionism. This is Jewish National Fund USA. It's time to write the next chapter in the Zionist story. Travel the country and you'll see it's happening. A renaissance in the desert. Coexistence in the Galilee. Synagogues, mosques, and churches. Ancient traditions in a modern land. Diversity. inclusion, employment. This is Israel. This is Zionism. This is Jewish National Fund USA. Zionism is starting a new community on barren desert plains. It's growing vegetables where there's no rain. It's solving environmental problems, and it's sharing our expertise with the world. Nothing is easy. Things don't always go our way. When we are attacked, we come back stronger. Whether the world is with us or against us, we remember who we are, and we teach it to our children. Whatever challenges come our way, Zionism ensures that we are never alone. When we remember that we always have each other, nothing can stand in our way. Let's build a better world together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome JN Future Chicago board members Dana Rubin Randall and Jewish National Fund USA board member, Mountain States Simon Schwartz.
Mazel tov, Scott and Robbie. I can think of few others who are more deserving of this honor than both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dana Randall, and I'm based here in Chicago, the Windy City, with my two kids, Abe and Theo. As I began to prepare my remarks for this evening, memories of a trip I made to Israel came flooding back. It was the summer of 2014, and Israel faced a barrage of rockets. Nevertheless, I went with Jewish National Fund USA on their JN Futures leadership mission to Israel. There we had a fantastic mission mentor in none other than the ever-engaging Scott Schreiber. It was, of course, not a vacation, but rather a fully immersive journey, exploring dozens of Jewish National Fund USA sites across the length and breadth of Israel, in addition to meeting with local community leaders. The trip had a profound impact on my life. First and foremost, Jewish National Fund USA has shown me what important Jewish values like tzedakah, charity, looks like in action, and that with vision you can accomplish anything. I'm happy to share that my son Abe has been learning about tzedakah, and Theo will get his own blue box soon. Friends, it is vital that we continue to connect each new generation to Israel. It is so important that we continue to educate and inspire our children about our history in Israel so that her people, our people, will thrive for generations to come. I look forward to one day bringing our family to Israel so my sons can see firsthand what I've been so fortunate to help build and what our donations continue to support. I would now like to hand over the virtual microphone to my good friend Simon Schwartz to say a few words.
Thank you, Dana, Scott, and Robbie. Mazel tov on this amazing honor. My name is Simon Schwartz, and I'm speaking to you this evening from Denver, Colorado. Yeah, with me is my daughter Reese, who loves Israel with all her heart. The Schreiber family is one that talks the talk and walks the walk. In Hebrew, we call this tachlis. Reese is going to go away for one moment, and I will be right back. Can you go to Hebrew? The Schreiber family is one that talks the talk and walks the walk. In Hebrew, we call it tachlis, which means doing, and the Schreibers are doers in every sense of the word. I also met Scott on the same mission as Dana, and he became my Jewish National Fund USA mentor. As my mentor, he inspired me to see how actions speak much louder than words. But the words are also very important. Through his mentorship, I've held multiple roles on my local and national JNF Future board, and I've been a part of JNF's USA Ambassadors program called Makor, where I've been able to engage and encourage young professionals to become champions for Israel. With support from individuals, communities, and business leaders like you, we have the opportunity of creating experiences and opportunities for the next generation. I'm reminded of the age-old proverb, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. While it's hard to identify the exact origin of this saying, it has many Jewish values associated with it. Each of you today has the ability to teach your next generation how to support Israel, whether by action, philanthropic support, or making opportunities available to that next generation. I am confident that our community's future has never been brighter because of people like Scott and Robbie. So again, I say mazel tov to you both for your leadership, support, and consistent advocacy for the land and people of Israel. For all of you who have joined us this evening, I ask you to join me by making your gift to Jewish National Fund USA. By now, you should have received a text message and email with instructions on how to donate today to support Israel's future tomorrow and the next generation of Zionists that we are inspiring to lead our community for generations to come. You can also make a gift at jnf.org/donate. Thank you, and mazel tov to you both.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jewish National Fund USA National Assistant Vice President, Israel Relations, Ted Banks.
I am honored to introduce this year's Tree of Life honorees, Robbie and Scott Schreiber. The Tree of Life Award is the highest humanitarian award the Jewish National Fund presents in appreciation of outstanding community involvement dedicated to the cause of American-Israeli friendship and devotion to peace and the security of human life. I've known Scott and Robbie for many years through numerous JNF activities, but with typical modesty, they never talked about anything else that they did. When I tell you a little bit about Robbie and Scott, I know that you will agree that they are exemplary members of our community and well-deserving of this recognition. I'll get to their public work in a moment, but first let me tell you about what Scott and Robbie do when they are not working for JNF or another charity. Scott is a distinguished lawyer and serves as co-leader of the Corporate Restructuring and Bankruptcy Practice Group at the national law firm of Clark Hill. Robbie teaches citizenship education to Chicago area immigrants who are preparing for their U.S. citizenship exam. Robbie won a Distinguished Service Award for her tutoring. Before COVID shut things down, she helped a newly naturalized American citizens register to vote immediately following their oath ceremonies. She taught Hebrew for 10 years at Congregation BJBE in Deerfield and served on their board. She currently serves on the executive board of the National Council of Jewish Women, Chicago North Shore. Scott organized the North Shore Jewish Community Campaign Forum. The forum works with 24 Jewish institutions, synagogues, schools, and organizations so they can hear from state and federal candidates running in the 9th and 10th congressional districts. In addition to learning about the candidates' positions in the formal presentation session, this is one of the few opportunities where constituents actually have a chance to meet their elected or to-be-elected officials face to face. Scott is also a member of JNF USA's Board of Trustees, sits on both the National Board of Directors and the Budget and Finance Committee, and serves as Vice President of Missions. Robbie and Scott have co-led 3 JNF USA missions to Israel. One mission Scott is particularly proud of is JLIM, JNF's special mission for rising leaders of JNF from our JN Future group. Robbie and Scott have made a special point of supporting ACAT, the Arava International Center for Agriculture Training. ACAT teaches modern agricultural techniques to farmers who come to the Negev from places such as Kenya and Malaysia. The students return home to become agricultural and business leaders, and they leave the program as Zionists and ambassadors in their home countries on behalf of Israel. Both Robbie and Scott are recognized as leaders, mentors, mensches, and friends to all. On behalf of the Chicago and national boards of Jewish National Fund USA, Robbie and Scott, I'm honored to present you with the Tree of Life Award.
Thanks, Ted.
It was summer of 1969. Do you remember where you were? Picture this: the Apollo Moonwalk, Woodstock, The Who's rock opera album Tommy, those amazing Mets' comeback, beating out my beloved Cubbies down the stretch. Where was I summer of 1969? I was in Israel for the first time. I was 13 with my whole family in a van for 6 weeks, touring and visiting relatives I'd never met. I hated it. But fast forward 8 years to summer of 1977. I'm 21, spending a year in Israel, learning Hebrew, and dating an Israeli paratrooper soldier. I was in heaven. The soldier boyfriend didn't last, but the Zionist passion did. Fast forward again to summer of 2005. It's time to introduce husband Scott and kids to Israel. But I had to carefully choose the right kind of trip. Now, most of you probably don't know that Scott studied landscape architecture in college. He had started a landscaping design business and was already doing environmental advocacy even before going to law school. So my choice of trips was easy, right? It had to be with Jewish National Fund. He was hooked from day one. And so here we are this evening with Scott receiving the highest JNF honor for his 15-plus year commitment to growing JNF and its programs, supporting the land and the people I love. I couldn't be prouder. The Tree of Life Award is his. I just gave him the first nudge.
And so there we were in Israel, 2005. And honestly, the first few days were a bit blurry as I acclimated to the intense heat, the congestion, the wall, the maze, the old city, the confluence of history, politics, religion, the foods, the territorial boundaries, and that was just the Jewish people. As our mission traveled through the familiar circle of Tel Aviv, the Golan Heights, Masada, the Dead Sea, and then Jerusalem, I began really listening to and enjoying our guide's explanation of the cultures, the history, and the art. As we wound through the grottos of Rosh Nikra and then up the border with Lebanon, I started warming up to this little country called Israel. After that first mission, I was smitten. I couldn't wait to return. After my second JNF mission, I was invited to join McCOR, JNF's National Speakers Bureau. JNF takes 20 to 30 McCOR members to Israel each year to learn about the projects that JNF is investing in, with the expectation that upon our return to the States, we can speak to prospective donors from a first-hand narrative. And so every February for the next 10 years or so, I joined a fluid group of 20 or so McCormicks to travel through Israel to see firsthand how JNF was building and improving Israel through its investments and projects with its partners. To better understand Israel's water crisis, for instance, we toured the Kinneret at its dangerously low levels. Then we went to the Shamir drilling platform, where JNF helped fund the drilling of a well deep enough to tap into a water table that could feed the Kinneret. We then toured a desalination plant to begin to comprehend the process of and the environmental and economic costs of desalination. In the Negev, we toured farms and greenhouses to learn about agricultural research conducted by JNF's partners. In the middle of this arid desert, we met Israeli farmers using a combination of drip irrigation and special farming techniques to grow peppers and cherry tomatoes in regions that receive less than 2 inches of rain each year. And in an area called Halutza, a strip of land that borders Egypt to the south and Gaza to the west, we met with farmers growing organic carrots and flowers that are exported to Europe and America. And since no trip to the south can ignore the existential threat of rockets from Gaza, we went to Sderot. There, we saw the excitement of young children who played in a concrete and steel reinforced playground that JNF had converted from a former warehouse. The children of Sderot can never venture more than 15 seconds away from a bomb shelter, but here they had a safe place to play. I'll never forget the pride I felt when we dressed up as clowns to staff a Purim carnival next to that playground. Or the mother who said thank you, Toda Rabbah, for giving her children a safe place to enjoy their first Purim carnival in more than 5 years. By my 4th or 5th year traveling with McCOR, and after having led a few missions myself, including one for JNF's next generation of leaders, I felt pretty well versed in JNF's work in Israel and was nearly taking it all for granted until one day in the Negev. Our itinerary that day included visiting a medical center that JNF had built in the central Arava region, and then a school called ACAT, the Arava International Center for Agricultural Training. I wasn't especially intrigued about ACAT, even when the bus pulled up to a cinder block building that formerly had housed transformers and offices for a telecommunications company, and which now served as ACAT's home. After disembarking the bus, we were greeted by the center's director, Chani Arnon, who explained how ACAT provides a learning environment for farmers from Southeast Asia and Africa, including countries that don't even have diplomatic relations with Israel. ACAT's goal is to impart professional, theoretical, and practical know-how and skills in advanced agricultural studies, based on learning by doing, to enable people to become better farmers in their native countries. I was amazed to learn that up to 1,000 farmers a year come to Israel to learn farming techniques and share real-life experiences working on a kibbutz or a moshav while studying in this cinder block building. And when they're not working, learning, or studying, ACAT arranges field trips so they can explore Israel, the beaches of Eilat, the Dead Sea, hike Masada, walk through the old city of Jerusalem, or even ski at Mar Hermon. And after about 10 months, these farmers rejoined their families in their native communities, where they used their knowledge to become better stewards of their own land, feed more people, and serendipitously, goodwill ambassadors for Israel. Suddenly, I was smitten again, recognizing that ACAT represents everything that's right, everything that's good about Israel. Sharing knowledge, making the world a better place, and ACAT exemplified everything that's good about JNF because ACAT is one of JNF's partners. What I didn't realize at the time was that the farmers received no support from their own government to pay for their travel to Israel, their tuition, or their housing expenses. So Robbie and I decided to do something about that. In 2017, we established a scholarship fund to help pay some of those expenses. And so it seems that every spring for the past few years, out of nowhere, I'll get an email from ACAT with a biography and a picture of a man or a woman who studied at ACAT on the scholarship we established. I'll read about how their lives were improved, how their village now has more food to eat, how they've utilized the skill that they learned at ACAT to improve the lives of their friends and families. And I'll remember how Israel, JNF, and ACAT, with a little help from the Schreibers, has made the world a better place. I want to give a huge thank you to our co-chairs, Jill and Bruce Weiniger, and Andrew and Gail Brown, our sponsors, our ambassadors, and our friends for their support tonight. And to my friends from Accor for their friendship and support as we collectively and individually learned about how Israel is becoming a beacon of scientific and cultural achievements. And a thank you to my law partners and colleagues and clients who put up with my absences those Februarys, who covered for me while I was traveling Israel doing what one friend called the Zionist summer day camp I finally got to attend. But mostly, a thank you to Robbie for leading me into this fantastic voyage and for letting me return to Israel for several years in a row so that I could learn how we can create something bigger than both of us with a little help from JNF. I want to conclude by inviting all of you to join Robbie and me in supporting JNF and learning about JNF, and by inviting you to join JNF on a mission to Israel and see for yourself how JNF and Israel is making the world a better place.
The Arava International Center for Agricultural Training trains over 1,200 students from Southeast Asia and Africa every year, in cooperation with Tel Aviv University. Established in the central Arava town of Sapir, through the support of the Jewish National Fund USA, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Ministry of Agriculture, students gain an invaluable education in sustainable agricultural technologies and agronomics, which includes learning about Israeli innovation in one of the most challenging regions of the country.
Dear Robbie and Scott, I don't have enough words to tell you how much we are grateful, how much we appreciate your support, your partnership, your friendship to the JNF and to ACAT. With this support, you changed the life of thousands of students from developing countries. You gave them tools to go back home after training in Israel, in the Arava, and lead changes in their communities to make sure that all the babies have enough food, that everybody, all the young people, young students can fulfill their dreams. You get the special award, the Tree of Life. These special awards is only for those who touched people, who make a change, and you deserve it. I would like to send you lots of love from all our students from the Arava, from ACAT, all the students from Asia and Africa. We love you and looking forward to see you here with us in ACAT. Thank you so much. Toda.
Hello, my name is Dennis Somoina, and I'm from Kenya. ACAT is Arava International Center for Agriculture Training. The concept of the program was very clear, learning by doing, and I was so much excited to know that I will be able to do things the way Israeli do. There was a very clear explanation of how I'm going to be trained to be an agent of change. And I would always believe that I have a purpose to be an agent of change, not just in my village, but, in Africa, even globally. So when I learned that I'm going to be more useful than I thought I would be in my life, and I'm given an opportunity to be more useful, I thought this was a deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jewish National Fund USA's Tree of Life Virtual Gala Chicago co-chairs, Andrew and Gail Brown.
I'm Gail Brown, And together with my husband, Andrew, and Jill and Bruce Weininger, we are so pleased and proud to co-chair tonight's Tree of Life Gala honoring Scott and Robbie Schreiber. And we are most grateful that so many of you have joined us. We've had the pleasure of working closely with Jill and Bruce and with the executive staff at Jewish National Fund USA to help make this evening's gathering so very special, even in these challenging times. None of this would be possible without the many generous sponsors and donors. We also want to thank the honorary co-chairs for their support.
Gail and I have been close friends with Robbie and Scott Schreiber for decades. And in that time, they've been unflagging in their support for JNF and the State of Israel. They've also volunteered much of their time and energy to help the less fortunate right here at home. You couldn't find a more dedicated couple that embody the spirit of Tikkun Olam in their efforts to make a better world. We are grateful for their efforts and honored that they asked us to serve as co-chairs. And now, enough with the speeches. The doors to the virtual main room are opening. Please join us and the many other passionate supporters of Jewish National Fund USA and Israel as we gather together to hear from Marley Matlin and Henry Winkler.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just heard that the doors to the main room featuring this evening's entertainment are now open. In just a few minutes, we will join thousands of other passionate supporters of Jewish National Fund USA and Israel. So sit back and relax as we virtually welcome you into the main room.